My name is Patrick Egan, and I do a publication, a web publication called SVIEF News, and it's all about commercial drones. I've been in the space, commercial drones, for about 14 years. It used to be legal here in the United States, and it became illegal, and now it's legal again. So it's a very exciting time. There's lots happening in that space. I'd like to say thanks for the organizers having the panel up here, and I want to welcome everyone to our panel. And the panel is going to be about artificial intelligence and how it's affecting robotics now and into the future. And I have on the panel, I have Andrea Kay, she's the Managing Director of Silicon Valley Robotics. Phil Mann, CMO of 5D Robotics. Mel Torrey, CEO and founder of Autonomous Solutions. And Justin Wu, developer and evangelist for Jibbo Inc. And before I get started, I mean, we saw your bios and whatever, and I'm going to go in the same order. Is it possible that you could give us a short synopsis of what you do, Andrea?
I am currently the Managing Director of Silicon Valley Robotics, which is the industry group for robotics, drone, AI companies in the Bay Area. It's a fantastic position to see a whole range of new robotics, and it's about robotics leaving the research lab and moving into the real world. So as an industry group, our role is to support innovation and commercialization. So that actually just looks like networking events and expos or reports or developer workshops or those sorts of more normal things, but it helps bring new and exciting robots out of research and into the real world.
Phil, tell us what you do.
Well, good afternoon. Phil Mann. So Chief Marketing Officer, which is code for business development and sales. 5D Robotics. Precise navigation and positioning. We have two major attributes for both ground and air vehicles. We have a sensor. It's based on ultra-wideband, works indoors, snow, rain, cuts through a lot of clutter where we see lots of trouble in any mobile vehicle and how that would operate. And then of course it's not complete without the software to make any vehicle autonomous, safe, avoid collisions, and actually work in the application you intended it to. Thank you.
Thank you. Mel, Tori, could you tell us what you do?
Yeah, I run a robotics ground vehicle company in Utah. We started about 16 years ago. We do robotic farming with the second largest tractor company in the world. We do mining with the largest mining company in the world. We do floor cleaning with one of the largest floor cleaner companies in the world. And we also do security robots. We just launched one with Sharp Electronics out of Japan that will do security surveillance. And then we do automotive robotics as well.
And finally, Justin Wu, tell us what you do, sir.
Thank you, and thanks for hosting a wonderful panel. So I work at Jibbo. Jibbo is the first character-driven social robotics platform. I know there's a lot of words there. Social meaning that you can speak to him, you can understand what you're saying. Character meaning that he has a personality behind him. Specifically, I'm a 13-year-old boy. Everyone knows what's a robot. And a platform, so you can build third-party skills on him using JavaScript and HTML. So my role as a developer evangelist is to really evangelize the developer, meaning get people to build third-party skills on him, on Jibbo.
Thank you, sir. And I think I'm going to start with Mel. We're starting to see where robots are going to be in our businesses, workplaces, and homes. And when you hear artificial intelligence, what comes to mind?
I think in general it's gotten a bit of a bad rap, but in general, according to the Wikipedia, it's really taking information sensed by your smart vehicle and then making decisions to optimize and reach a goal. And so that really is a broad definition. It is starting to be used to scare people in that this vehicle will become so smart that it will stop reaching the goals that the humans have set for it and start to cause problems. But in general, it's like fire or nuclear power. It's something that can be used for good or for bad. And it's important for us to make sure that we are designing our systems that are safe and that accomplish the goals that we set.
And Andre, do you have any thoughts on that same question? For what comes to mind with artificial intelligence for you, the definition?
Again, I mean, what do we mean? What are we thinking when we hear the words artificial intelligence these days? Because we're all walking around with pockets full of it. Okay? Every smartphone is artificial intelligence. And what I find people are hearing when they hear the word artificial intelligence isn't my smartphone or simply smarter devices making the world a better place. They're hearing something scary, and it tends to mean that they're confusing artificial intelligence with agency. The idea that there is some sort of purpose or deeper character or personality behind that technology. And we're a very, very, very long way away from that being even the slightest bit plausible.
Okay, I kind of agree with that, and I think I will pass it on to Phil. And the question, kind of building on that, you know, there are some concerns, and some people say, oh, you know, we have these sci-fi movies, and we should be concerned. Or, you know, I look at the Jetsons, and they had the robot that did all of the tasks around the house, like the laundry and the dishes, and I'm like, sign me up for that. What do you think?
Well, as a watcher of the Jetsons, I'm still waiting for my life to look like that.
Have you guys seen that? Well, maybe not everyone. Maybe some people might have seen it, right? Those who clapped. But that robot did something very specific. It was funny and sarcastic. And I think, you know, especially at Jibo, when we're trying to build a character or personality, I think those are one of the most difficult things to build, right? Like, how do you build a personality on a robot, on complicated feelings like sarcasm or depression? Not that the robot wants to be depressed, but more like, how do you build a robot with artificial intelligence that has this sort of complicated emotion behind it, that can understand your emotion and reflect the emotion to you? That's what I see really the future to be, my opinion.
Well, that's a good word.
Nothing like Marvin.
Yeah. For those who don't know, the robot's name is Marvin, and he had a very sarcastic, humorous personality. Yeah. I'll take it for compliment, thank you.
Or even the robot like Lost in Space. I loved him. He was a good, great companion. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about is some of the older folks up here remember Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, which it seems like we hear less and less. Kind of fades into the distance, and I wonder, you know, is this going to be possible as more machines move amongst us, like driverless cars and automatic trains and things like that, and even consumer products, drones, whatever? Is it going to be something? Is that kind of an old-fashioned notion, or are we just going to have to learn how to live with? We may get hurt by robots sometimes.
For the industries that I'm in, like agriculture and mining and security, it all comes down to the functional safety design. So you're following ISO certified, ISO directed processes that assure that the vehicle is going to do what it's supposed to do safely, and basically what you want it to do. And so there are design processes that assure that you're putting in the redundancy and the logic to assure that this is always going to perform as it's supposed to. And so the human's truly calling the shots, and the design should assure that it's following the shots it's supposed to.
Well, you know, there's been lots of talk about, like with the driverless cars, that it's hard to program into the system. You know, if there's a choice, the car's got to make a choice, you know, the nuns or the kids, or even protect the life of the person that's inside the vehicle. That's very hard to program. I mean, do you think the public is going to accept that? And anybody that wants to take that one, it's kind of a heavy question.
That's a huge question, and there are lots of answers to it. And first off, does anybody know what Asimov's laws of robotics were? Maybe 1 person, 2 people, 3, 4?
I got them right here. Shall I read them? The
Would you
3
like to
laws of
read them?
robotics. A robot may never injure a human being or, through an action, allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law.
they had to add another law, which was that a robot would have to act to protect not simply humans, the individual human, but humanity as well, because you could be faced with choices where there wasn't an immediate, this is going to be good for a person or bad for a person, but it could certainly be very bad for the human environment. So they had to add what they called the zeroth law. And I'd like to say Asimov was a great science fiction writer, and I grew up reading his books, but he was a scientist and a science fiction writer. And his laws are storytelling devices. And the books, the stories that he wrote are all about why those laws don't work.
Then some people have suggested we want a Donald Trump character, Hillary Clinton character. We have no opinion on that. I think, sorry, not to answer your question, for me what's more important is the culture of the character of Jibo, and not the government. For us, we want to make sure that since Jibo is an international robot, hopefully someday, it abides by the culture of each country. I know I'm avoiding your question, but different, I guess that's for cars, right? Each car has abide by its own government regulation. For us, because Jibo is a character personality, has abide by the culture of wherever it's placed. So, yeah.
Sure, I understand that. Someone else like to take a crack at that question?
Yeah, I think it's very dangerous for us to wait for the government to come in, and we will get over-regulated. And so what we're seeing is a very proactive approach. Right now we're serving on an agriculture and a mining committee to work to get ISO certified standards in place. We need that as a foundation to get the comfort to release product that could hurt someone for basically an establishment of best practices. This is a collection of all of the experts' opinions on what is safe. Let's get that established, let's follow that, and then if someone does get hurt, there is a baseline for litigation that did you follow what's established as a best practice. And these big companies who are very liability averse, risk averse, they are self-insured, they do not want to take that risk unless those standards are in place. And so they won't release product, and it's holding us back. So we are working as fast as we can to get those in place, and we're not going to wait for the government to come in and overregulate after some accidents.
And you make some interesting points, and you hit on some topics I eventually wanted to get around to, which was the certification by people involved in the industry. And in the mining, like you said, they have a risk aversion, and they're also very safety oriented. And do you think that they're kind of leading the way in front of agriculture, or are both industries going at it just as hard?
I think mining's a little bit ahead. They have some bigger draws towards getting autonomy in place as fast as possible, because just the commodity pricing, people are going out of business, they're shutting mines down, they have got to find ways to get labor substitution in place because they either can't get it or they can't afford it, or the labor that is there is damaging these $5 million trucks, that kind of thing. So they seem to be leading the way. Ag is coming quickly. I think you've seen both approaches in the automotive space. You saw Google look at this and go, wow, they're not going to pay attention. We're taking the steering wheel completely out, and we're not going to release this until it's full autonomous ready. And you saw the opposite with Tesla, that, hey, this incremental approach is the right way, and it just got a little bit ahead of them. But people will get hurt. That is unknown. That's going to happen.
Right. Well, the Tesla thing is, I don't know how well a automatic sports car is going to go over. For me, I kind of think, like, what's the point? Because there's going to be times when I'm going to want to drive the sports car. Would you want to add to that?
I recently heard speakers from Tesla point out that their cars now had done something like 10,000 times as many miles in a month as the entire Google self-driving car program, because they were leveraging data from manned vehicles to develop what they were doing. Now, I believe with the acquisition of Waze, Google does have access to real-time cars, but it's fascinating watching all of the driving it in autopilot. Who would like to have a Tesla? actually. Who would like to drive it in autopilot? Okay, so you're the alpha testers. It's survival of the smartest. The smartest might not be in the car initially, but it is, you may have seen the news today that California has just passed a regulation allowing self-driving vehicles to operate in 2 areas of the bay. Is anybody out in the San Ramon area? I actually am. Okay, watch out around Bishop Ranch because they've now got the go-ahead for completely unmanned autonomous driving in that section of the Bay Area.
Interesting to see that unfold. Did you have something to add?
You're asking about self-certification, but it comes into what is safe. And lots of other industries have seen where the industry itself, mandated by government, will come up with standards, and infrastructure such that things interplay. Mel talked about it, for applications that he is in now. But you start sort of thinking about safety. There's never one thing, right? If I had a radar that did this, I would be able to be protected from that. If I had, magical Wi-Fi that could do everything, I could do this.
Almost every robotics company uses lessons that they've learned in animating character and how people will interact with a robot based on movies like that. But there's the robots that we need to have. And in industries like mining, agriculture, many of the areas where we don't see things, robots are being used for economic benefit, but primarily for safety, for replacing labor for really, really dangerous jobs, or for increasing food production where it's essential that we double food production in the next generation, for example. There are so many areas that I'm really excited to see robots in, not the Jetsons future of robots, but the robot future where we can double food production without doubling the amount of land that we use to produce food, where we can take humans out of all of the dangerous jobs like mining and a lot of industrial work, where there are a lot of fatalities, and we can replace them with robots. So that's the robot future that I'm really excited about.
Any comments on that?
What question am I answering?
Well, basically we were talking about, I forget. But we can move on anyway, because I think you made a good distinction, though, between the robots that are going to help us and the robots that we want to interact with, or consumer-grade robots. But the last thing I wanted to talk about, you kind of alluded to the 5G and 6G, and people have started to move on and say, hey, when these 5G networks come along, things are going to be a lot better, and we're going to have more of a Internet of Things type of society where all the robots are going to be interacting with our devices in our homes and our cars and all the rest of these things. I'm looking forward to it, but I think it's going to be a few years off. So until those networks are there, I know for drones, people are talking about this processing power that can process data in the air, which kind of means maybe we're going to have to do onboard computing or at the ground station, and everybody's always talking about the cloud. Where is the, let's say, in the near future, where is all of this AI and processing power going to reside? And we'll start at the end.
I think the good news is that the pricing is definitely coming down, and so we can afford to put more computers on board the vehicles. So I think depending on the application, I think we're going to be able to put the processing power on there to handle the low-hanging fruit for our applications. I do think communication continues to be the limitation. I'm very excited about getting 5G in place. We look at the cell phone coverage in orchards in California. You would think California would have incredible density for cellular coverage, and it's terrible, and we can't run our robots off of the cellular because there isn't the repeaters out there. So we're putting up a lot of repeaters, a lot of powerful, expensive radios to get that penetration out there, to get the information off of the systems, to be able to monitor them safely. So we're not seeing a limitation on the vehicle side for the intelligence right now, for at least the basic applications out there that are ready to go.
And it's funny that you went there, because I was going to say that, everybody's talking about 5G, but I'll take consistent 4G all over the place.
Exactly. That's huge. And in our security robots, they want to get 10 and 100 of these units up a month, meaning we need to go on a corporate site in the middle of LA and set up a Wi-Fi infrastructure that has full coverage around the Amazon shipping area. That takes a lot of money, a lot of tools, and it changes over time, and someone else fires up another radio and it jams yours, and even the Wi-Fi in my office building is a bear to keep up and running and not conflicting with all kinds of devices. So it's just huge to manage that RF.
And the same question to Andra with where the computing or the processing power is going to be. On board, control station, cloud, what do you think?
Well, we'll keep talking about safety, because I think whatever you're doing, you cannot be doing anything critical that's not on board. You can't be trusting a critical thing, whether it's collision avoidance or whether it's identification for security purposes, or whatever that critical function is. At this stage, I would not be trusting that off board. But I'm very excited by just how cheap all the components for robotics are getting and how widespread connectivity is getting. We're seeing great things.
I would concur with that. There's a lot of people who say, oh, we want to use the cell phone networks for air traffic control for drones. It's just not there, in my estimation. So I agree with that. Round of applause for the panelists. Thank you.